pleasure to welcome to the podcast Karli Jo Weisser. Karli, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on. I'd love to hear the story of your very first save and goal. Do you remember that?
Okay, so I started playing goalie when I was in sixth grade. I started playing lacrosse in third grade. And my dad was the coach of our lacrosse team, and we had two goalies at the time. One of them got injured, and then one of them decided that she didn't want to play anymore. So, being the daughter of the coach, I had to step in. And I remember like the first time I ever hopped into goal was before a game. Warm up, we got to the field early. My dad took a few shots on me and just kind of feeling it out. And I ended up liking it. So the next game after that I played and I've been in goal ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So
I
your
got
dad,
thrown in there, but
yeah, you got thrown in there, but your dad didn't have, I guess, let's say it's tough to throw someone else's kid into goal, right? And
for
so he's
sure.
he's like, I got to put my own daughter into goal.
Luckily
Um,
it worked out.
Yeah, and it worked out. But what were the feelings you had at first? Like, were you initially kind of nervous about it? Was it like, oh, this is cool, it's something new?
I was more of a challenge and I like a good challenge. So I think it was nice to kind of switch things up. And I like that there's only one goalie on the field at a time. So it was different from anyone else.
Yeah,
It's like a unique position.
yeah,
So from anyone else, nobody else could relate to the position. I feel like I kind of liked that I was like trying something new away from the rest of my team. But other than that, like I was nervous. My
yeah,
team I remember there wasn't some very good encouragement of me hopping into goal, but like I did it anyways, and it was great.
yeah. A
Yeah.
lot, a lot of goalies feel like sort of the opposite of you, of where like the goalie's sort of this one-off, different from everyone else, and they say, well, how do I be more a part of the team? How do I like, blend in with the girls? And you were actually like on the opposite end, where like I sort of liked being that one of a kind, right?
Yeah, I definitely have like had my moments where it's like, oh, I have to wear all this like chunky gear and all that
Mm,
stuff. And it's like the feeling like self-conscious as a girl, like it's definitely something that stood out to me, being different from the rest of my team. But I
hmm.
also like that I'm the only person on my team that can hop into goal and make these awesome saves and stuff. And that makes you stand out.
Right.
And it's like you can be so much more of a team leader and you can grow more as a person, trying something different and like
Great.
stepping away from that. But you're still part of the team.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is one of the things that's different specifically in women's lacrosse is that like the goalie's the only one really wearing pads,
Yeah.
right? Whereas in men's lacrosse, like all your other teammates got helmets, all your other teammates
Right.
have gloves and protection. How do you, if there's a young girl that's kind of going through what you went through, where it's like, oh, some days where it's like, oh man, I don't want to put on these pads. Kind of
Right.
what do you say to them?
So something that really helped me is honestly, I like this is something I still think about and I still struggle with sometimes, is I got a really cool helmet
Mm.
and that made me like want to wear it a lot more, is that I got gear that I was comfortable in and gear that I thought I looked like swaggy in or like looked
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Which like made me want to put on my gear. So I have like this super awesome gold chrome dome
Love it.
that I wear. It's so fun. And I like that everyone's like, oh my God, that's such a sick helmet. And it just makes me feel cooler in
I
my, yeah.
great comment. Great point, right? Is you we get to wear this gear and make it swaggy, right? Make it
Yeah.
swaggy.
Like have some fun with
Um,
it. I mean, you have to wear it, but you also get to wear it.
exactly. What else goes into your swag? Talk to me about the swaggy setup.
All my gear is white and gold,
Yeah.
which is kind of fun. My high school teammate that I played with last season and I had matching helmets. So that was super fun. But other than that, I mean, everything's kind of covered by your jersey or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, but
But
yeah, I
do
just
you
like
get like the eye black going? Do you got like a little message
I
on your
don't
chest? No?
I don't wear eye black, no. I kind of wish I did sometimes, but it's just something I haven't really gone into. Maybe next
It,
season.
it is an element of swag, but it definitely like if you're not used to it, it's a different like feel in terms of your
Yeah,
vision.
Like it's like distracting almost.
Yeah, it's a different feel in terms of your vision, and it could be distracting if you're not used to it. Because I know, like a lot of young goalies, sometimes you practice no eye black, no eye black, no eye black, and then the game comes and you put on the eye black, and it's like a little bit of a different vision going on.
I
So
like to keep things consistent on what I'm doing in practice and what I'm doing in
yeah,
game
yeah, I think that's key. I think that's key.
for sure.
Your dad throws you in there at sixth grade. Then how do you learn how to make saves? Does he teach you some stuff? Is there another goalie? Do you go to some coaches?
So
How do you learn?
my dad is very much a YouTube dad.
Mm,
As in he's learned everything women's lacrosse off of YouTube ever since he started coaching me. So I learned some things through that, but ultimately I worked with Ashley Lang, who played at Davis.
yeah.
She just graduated. She went to my high school. And she like all throughout youth lacrosse, I looked up to her. And so I did lessons with her for a while, and she pretty much taught me all the basics that I know.
Awesome. Do you remember what some of those early lessons were all about? Was it just kind of like
It was all
stand
like
this way?
I remember her yelling at me to step behind the ball, and that was
Oh
like one
yeah.
of my hardest things to kind of get into my head and get like the muscle
Right.
memory for is to step behind the ball, but not only step behind the ball, but also step with the right foot.
Right.
And I remember I'd always be like crossing saving a right side shot with my left foot or something like that. And it just would
Right.
get me to the off position. So I remember like stepping, arc work, um, really just like making the save with your whole entire body and not just making the save with your stick, because ultimately a save's a save.
Right. Yeah, it's so interesting when you watch, video of like the real young goalies just getting started, how like the body wants like its natural reaction is to sort of like move away and they kind of like
Yeah.
move away and then get the stick in the way. Or even like I've seen a lot of young goalies kind of like like sort of like swat at it, right? As opposed to
Yeah.
like making the save with your hands. So those are all habits that we got to overcome. And it's great you had her to help you out. What about like
Yeah.
being afraid of the ball? Was that something you had to work through?
I was never really scared of the ball, no. I
Mm.
feel like I definitely like had some moments where I had like a week or so where all of a sudden I'm closing my eyes for every shot, something like that, like just little like hiccups. But other than that, getting being afraid of the ball is never something I really had to get over.
You're one of the crazy ones, Carly.
Yeah. But with I also coach goalies.
Yeah.
So with some of my goalies that I coach, when they're afraid of the ball, I tend to do the thing where they have to put on their helmet, lay on the ground, and you're just dropping lacrosse balls on their head and they're trying
To get
to
used
keep
to
their
them.
eyes
Yeah.
open. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that drill. I think tennis balls work really well too, or these really
Oh yeah.
the soft,
Those push
squishy
ones.
balls. You kind of the same idea. It's like it doesn't hurt, right? It's not gonna
Yeah.
hurt. And you just can kind of focus on getting your body behind it.
Yeah.
Cool. So Ashley was it? Yes, she taught you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What about other as you kind of grew up? Was it just you watching her? Were you also watching college lacrosse? Any goalies come to mind?
I never really got into watching college lacrosse until I committed. But I switched around like some of the local clubs in the area. But I worked with Julia Southards, I think that's her last name.
Huh?
Jules at Rise, and she pretty much Ashley taught me all the basics, and then Jules perfected everything and
Okay.
kind of got me into my own style and got me comfortable playing the way I play and
Nice.
like more of an active goalie instead
Oh,
of just like waiting for the ball to come to me to make a save. I like being more proactive. And so she really helped me like fine tune that and how I play my unique style, I guess.
yeah. A lot of goalies have said I'm more of an active goalie. Talk to me more about that. What is it? Someone's listening to that and they're like,
Yeah.
what does it
So
mean? How do I do it?
when I say I'm an active goalie and like proactive, I don't mean that I am like running out at the ball who is a shooter who's running down the 8 meter.
Hmm.
I am telling my defense to push up. I'm talking to them. I'm being active in that sense,
Hmm.
where I'm helping my defense at X. I am supporting them in any way that I need. If they need a double team and make a slide, and the slide is coming all the way from like the right side, and then the X player is pushing up, I'm going to be outside the crease covering that X player. So it's
Yep.
more like I'm helping my defense be proactive instead of just me just sitting there waiting and being silent for the ball.
Yeah. if there's a ground ball around the crease, you're probably out there winning it.
You're getting it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, love that. Cool. So you committed to San Diego State to play
I did.
women's lacrosse, right? Yep. Congrats. Congrats on that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And that's just and now you're a senior, right? So you haven't even
So I'm going into my freshman year right now, so I have all my preseason packet stuff that I'm working through right now.
gotcha. So you graduated, you're gonna go there in like a month or two.
Yeah.
But anyway, my point is the recruiting process is relatively new for you, or at least, you just went through it maybe like a year ago. And I'd love to kind of
Yeah.
talk about that and kind of pick out some lessons that the young girls can apply if they want to play college lacrosse, just like you're going to.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your recruiting process if you could.
So my recruiting process, I took kind of a different approach than I feel like is the popular approach right now, or that I'm seeing other players, not just goalies, but other lacrosse players in general take, where they're trying to play on like these crazy top teams and they're like traveling for practice and not really necessarily like staying local, but they're just trying to get their name out there and get on the best team that they possibly can play on. I took a different approach where I chose that I wanted to stay local with my club teams and play with coaches that I trusted. And then also, I was lucky enough that majority of my high school teammates also played on the club teams that I played for. So we were able
Hmm.
to connection as a team because we played high school and club together.
Oh, cool.
That was super nice. So I played with coaches I trusted and I played with girls I trusted.
Yeah.
Um, with that, I never went to like the crazy big lacrosse camps. I never went to like the huge tenacity. I went to Western Winners once, was after I already committed. I
Hmm.
never went to like, huge camps with like the 50 colleges that come in the East Coast. I focused my recruiting process on the school that I was interested in. I went to a lot of San Diego and like school camps where it was
Hmm.
just because I feel like if you're looking for a job in a sense, and you go to like a job fair, you're a lot less likely to get the job if you're just looking to play anywhere. You're
Right.
just looking for a job anywhere.
Right.
I specifically knew that I wanted to play at San Diego State. I wanted like the culture that's at the school, um, and all that. So I was able to focus a lot of my time there, knowing that this is a specific spot that I want to play. And that like looks good to coaches that you want to play there. You don't just want to play in general.
Yeah, I like that. And so when they had their, I guess they have like some sort of summer camp
Hmm.
situation, and so you went to that.
Yeah,
Um,
went to a
how did
few of them.
you went to a few of them? Yeah, that's a good thing as well. Because sometimes, I mean, like getting a job, sometimes you got to have multiple interviews, right? And
Yeah.
so it certainly helps to for them to be able to see you multiple times, especially if you struggle one day. Because I think coaches understand that like we're all human. We can have off days. And so that gives us a little more opportunity to get out there and kind of show what we're capable of.
Yeah.
How did you do at those camps? And second question, were you feeling kind of nervous, like knowing that, all right, San Diego State is the place I want to go. I gotta really do well. I really want to do well here. Were you kind of nervous going into that or not so much?
Oh my goodness, I was so nervous. So I remember the first camp I went to, it was just my dad and I. We flew down. It was like we literally did it as like a day trip. It was
Hmm.
like an hour and a half flight from here. But it was like a 1 day camp. We did it as like a day trip. I remember driving in our rental car from the airport to the camp. We were running late, and I'm not someone that likes to be late. I'm very punctual. So I was obviously sweating from that. And then of course, I was nervous because I was just scared to play in front of college coaches. And it was kind of like my first real exposure because I feel like tournaments, you email coaches, and I definitely emailed a ton of coaches, but you email coaches and you're not sure if they're going to come watch you, and you don't know if the coaches on the sideline are coming to watch you.
Hmm.
But when you go to a camp that is specifically for one school, their like eyes are on you. They're watching all the players.
Yeah.
Um, so I was nervous with that because it was the first like real exposure that I ever had. And when I get nervous, I get really wrapped up in my playing, and I didn't feel like I played great. I wanted to get off that campus so fast. I
Mm.
was so ready to leave. But then I came back the next camp and I completely turned it around and I played so much better.
Yeah.
And yeah. was great. And then I
Yeah.
kept like camps and then officially committed and all that.
What does it mean for you? You said, when I get nervous, I get really wrapped up in my playing. What talk to me more about that? What does that mean? What does that look like?
I get super in my head. And
Yeah.
it's still something I'm working through, but I definitely have grown a lot as a goalie. Um, because like I have so much to learn still, but with the things I know, I'm a very like I coach goalies. I'm very coachy to the point where I'll coach myself up and I know what I should be looking for in my play. And if I'm thinking too much, I get too wrapped up in the tiny mistakes I make
Mm,
instead of huge save that I just made. I'm like, oh, my feet should have been in a different spot. Oh, my hands could have gotten there faster. But really a save's a save. And I always play better when I just like let the little things go and I focus on the things I'm doing well because then I
yeah.
continue good things. And it's more of like a playing to not make a mistake versus playing to succeed.
Right. Very different. Very
Yeah.
different. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Um, Yeah, it's good that you coach as well, because I sometimes when I'm talking to the young goalies, like a good question is like, what would you say to a young goalie who's in your situation? And
Hmm.
the answer sometimes is almost like is it comes a lot easier when it's not you, right?
Yeah.
When you're in the mix, when you're in the heat of it all, like sometimes you can't think, but when you're outside looking in or looking at another goalie, it's like it's right there. Oh yeah, well you need to be calm. Oh yeah, well you need to let that one go and move on, right? And
Yeah.
so, when you coach others, you're kind of coaching yourself because I'm sure you've told that to other goalies
Oh, definitely.
plenty of times, and now you can kind of rely on that. And it's not easy, like you said, right? You're still learning. I'm still learning. Everyone's still learning, but I think that helps that you do coach others. Would you
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah, oh for sure.
Yeah.
And it's a good reminder to be like you're working with this goalie one-on-one, they're struggling with something. Be like, yeah, I'm struggling with this too right now. It's something that doesn't only affect younger goalies, but like I'm having this problem too where I'm getting wrapped up in my head or I am not making a good save on like a low angle shot or something like that.
Yeah.
To yeah, I'm still making this mistake. This is what helps me, and everybody is different. So I feel like when I coach a lot, I'm just like trying to figure out what works best for that person and working through like the different ways to do everything because there's so many different ways to make a save. Helps me like fine tune what I need to do where it's like they come up with something, it's like, oh, maybe that would work for me. I should try that next time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And having also the humbleness to say like I don't know everything, right? Right. And but I can figure it out. We can work on that. That's something I'm struggling with too, but here's what we can
Yeah.
try and here's what we can do and here's how we're going to try to get over it. I remember I was interviewing Brett Dobson, right? One of the greatest male goalies playing in the pros right now, and someone asked him a question about like a particular type of shot and he was like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out myself too. So if
Yeah.
you got any tips for me, like let me know. And I was like, that's great. Here's like one of the best goalies in the world, and he doesn't have it all figured out. So why should you as a 12-year-old have it all figured out, right? Um,
Yeah, there's no expectation to. There's so many different ways to do everything that I might have like a good structure on how to make a certain save right now, but there
mhm.
might be a completely different way to make this save, like dropping your knee on a low save versus not, or something like that, that I just haven't tried yet that worked so much
Yeah.
better. So
Oh
there's
yeah.
always like try new things.
Especially as you get to college, right? And like the jump in level where you go from like playing with high school girls to playing with all college girls, and like it's going to be faster shots, more accurate shots, and you may have to change something in your game, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah.
That's the exciting part about it.
All being open to try stuff.
Yeah. So did you create videos like sort of your highlight clips, or was the camp situation kind of your main recruiting tool?
I definitely created highlights.
Okay.
As much as it's like I focused on San Diego State, I was focused on a few other schools in California too. And I definitely emailed like a wide range of coaches. And again, like my goal was D1, but I did not limit myself to only emailing D1 coaches because
Mm.
ultimately I knew I also wanted, I wanted to play in college. And I knew that I didn't want my skill level and the people I was emailing to limit where I went. Like I didn't want to limit my own possibilities. So I reached out to everyone because in the long run, even if you're not like crazy interested in the school, it's still practice talking to people.
Hmm.
And that's not only going to help you with your recruiting process, talking to like the coaches that really, really matter to you. It's going to help you like for the rest of your life with interviews and anything else.
100%.
Um, yes, I did create highlight reels and I sent them out to everyone imaginable at every single tournament I went to.
That's cool. How did you create those yourself personally? And how did you go about doing that? Like what kind of saves did you put in there? Editing? Like talk to me about that.
I used iMovie, I believe. My dad helped me a little bit with them, but a lot of what I wanted to focus on is that being a goalie is not all about making every single save.
Right.
You can miss a save, have it bounce off the post, and then it goes to like the attack again, or it goes to one of your defenders. And at that point, it's all about how you support the situation, not that you just missed that save.
Right.
If a ball goes wide and you don't get the sprint, still put that clip in if you're there and you're able to support and make a good situation out of that play that you didn't do great in. It's how you change it around and how you're able to support your defense and support your team. It's not always about, oh, she made this crazy, amazing save. She did like a split save. She jumped up like crazy high in the air, made a shot that
Right.
was made a save that was over the goal. It's not always about that. It's about how you're able to support your team.
100% agree. Yeah, that's such a great point. Such a great point. I had Coach Bill Tierney on the podcast when he was the head coach for Denver, and he said, like, all the tapes I receive are just goalies making the saves. Like, if any goalie puts in their tape, them giving up a goal, I'm going to recruit them right away. And I said, they're going to listen to this, and now you're going to get videotape of everyone just getting scored on.
Yeah.
Anyway, but to your point, like does make you stand out, and coaches do want to see how she reacts during those bad moments. Are you going to slump your shoulders? Are you going to keep your head up high, positive body language, rooting on the girls, etc.?
Yeah.
So that's cool. I like
How
that.
you support your team.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, a goalie is like the last line of defense. And you can't be a solid last line of defense if you're only focused on how you're doing. You got
Mm.
to focus on all the other lines of defense coming before you, and then it's how you can support them. So it doesn't even ultimately get to your spot, but it's how you support the people in front of you.
That's a great point, right? I think a lot of times as goalies, we tend to make it all about us, right? And it's like, oh, well, I'm not having a great game. Well, you made 3 saves and your team won, and like that's it. That's all they needed from you on that particular
Mhm.
day. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So then talk to me about the day you get the call. I assume it's a call. Head coach calls you and says, Karli Jo, we'd love to have you on our squad.
I cried so many tears of joy.
Oh, that's
It
awesome.
was the first call it actually happened so quick. It was the first call I had had with Coach White. She called me and I remember it was the day after Halloween and we had this like silly practice with my team and I was like, "Oh yeah, yesterday I dressed up as Mr. Clean for practice." Like I was just like chatting her up, right?
Yeah.
And I just had like happy tears in my eyes. My dad came in the room and he's like, "Karli, what are you crying about?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm on the phone with Coach White, like blah, blah, blah." He ended up leaving. And then she was like, "Do you want to be an Aztec?" And it just completely hit me out of the blue. And I was like,
Mm,
"Yes, of course." But as this was my top school, of course, I felt like I couldn't accept the offer right on the spot. I was
right.
like, "Oh, I need to talk to my parents."
Right.
Next, I called her and accepted it.
Nice.
Um,
Played it, played
yeah,
it, played it, played it coy a little bit, right?
not super, but
Yeah. You're like, hang on, let me talk to my parents. Yeah, I'll go. Okay. I checked with them. They're good.
yeah, it's
Oh, that's amazing. Congratulations.
thank you.
So what are you doing now? We're recording this end of July. It's the summertime, right? You're gonna go start fall ball pretty soon. What are you doing now to get ready? I think you mentioned there's some sort of packet. Like what's the training like?
Yeah, it's a lot of sprint work and like working on endurance.
Mm,
And a lot of lifting. That's something that I feel like is kind of something I'd recommend to younger goalies getting into like wanting to play in college, starting around like your freshman years when I started lifting. It helps like your speed work. It helps you be fast with like a quick explosive motion.
yeah.
Uh, So that's something I really put an emphasis on in my packet, and I lift more than my packet says to. Yeah, it's just something that I've been consistent with for the past 4 years, and I feel like it's completely changed my game.
Yeah,
Other than,
I think just to harp on that or to
yeah,
expand on that point for a second. I'm a huge weight room. I love the weight room, and I
yeah,
think that you talked about sort of it makes you quicker and it makes you more explosive, but I also think there's a lot of to be said about the mental game. Me personally, like
yeah,
going in the weight room and kind of like setting a goal of like I'm going to do this and like hitting
being
that goal, and then like taking that out to the field, right? And it's now like my mental game is just so much stronger for that. And whether you realize it or not, you probably felt that.
No, I do.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm thankful for my like weightlifting coaches are just amazing. And they've helped me become so disciplined with how I am in the weight room that I've been able to translate that onto like my sprints on the field to like sprint through the line or finish the play fully.
Hmm.
It's just like I've learned that going through the motions isn't going to get you anywhere. You have to exceed the motions to like if you're not going to train insane, you're going to remain the same. That's what my coaches tell me.
I like it.
Uh, but it helps with everything.
Yep.
Helps in the game. It helps you be fast. It helps you stay disciplined. Um, I just love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you feel good. You feel good too,
Yeah.
right?
It's
Yep. There
great.
you go. There you go. Okay. And then what about shots? Are you taking shots? Are you doing any sort of particular goalie type of drills? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I've been doing some lessons and hopping in like some club practices with the local club teams that I've played for. Other than that, it's been a lot of wall ball, it's been a lot of juggling.
Hmm.
I've been right now I'm more ramping up. I'm playing in the All-American game with Adrenaline this weekend.
Cool.
So it's more like been ramping up for that. But with that, it all translate to what I'm training for in the fall and spring season coming up.
Yeah. How do you you train so hard for this goal of like being able to play Division 1 lacrosse
Mhm.
and then you get accepted your junior year, right? But then you have this other like year left. How do you remain competitive, remain like just as driven in that last year versus that the lead up to it?
It's definitely something that I've seen people like fall down about, where it's like, oh, they're already committed. I've already made it where I want to be. Um, and it's just something that I was luckily able to stay away from kind of falling back and not practicing as hard.
Hmm.
It motivated me more because I knew where I was going now and I was
Hmm.
able to focus on this is the team that I'm going to play on. I want to play. So now have the focus of where I'm going to play at. I can keep on work. I have this whole like year and a half chunk where I'm able to grind and work hard to get there, but not only be there, exceed when I'm there. I want to be
Yeah.
like a better goalie than I was when they committed me when I got recruited,
Right. That makes
walking in.
sense. You're just getting started, right? You're just getting
Yeah,
started. So
yeah,
yeah, there's no reason to let take the foot off the brake.
yeah.
Um, I think I was thinking more in terms of like for me, like academically, when
Oh,
after
okay.
I'm not just like for me academically, after I got accepted to Cal, I like definitely like that last part of high school, I was kind of like, taking the foot off the brake. But that's very different because I feel like you can just pick it right back up. Whereas
Yeah,
athletically and kind of training, it's all cumulative.
yeah.
So, all right. How about interacting with the girls on the team, the Aztecs right now? Did you do any of
Uh-huh.
that? And what did that, how did you do that? And what did those conversations look like?
Like getting close to the team.
Yeah,
That
like I guess during the recruiting process, did you chat with any, DM with any of the girls after getting accepted? Same question.
so one of the girls that played on my high school team, not with me, but like a few years before me, she played at San Diego State
Hmm.
and she just now graduated. But after I committed, she gave me a tour of the school. That got me super excited. But it also helped that I love, love, love the people that are in my class. And we are super close. We go to all the camps together. We stay together. Our official visit was amazing. We talk all the time, and it's just great because I love the girls and we get along so well.
Okay.
It's
But then
it's been
that official
so
visit's
close.
kind of when you first met everyone and kind of formed those bonds.
No, we actually are lucky that there's this like 4-day overnight camp that
Yeah.
happened before any of us committed.
Okay.
And that group was basically our friend group. There, all of us went in not knowing anyone on the team, like nobody there. I roomed with like some random girl from Maine who was a doll. Loved her. But anyways, I had no idea who she was.
Right.
Um, and we all met and we all like ate lunch together. We all like hung out, and that ended up being our squad that we committed with. Some of the girls switched up, but still we met each other then, and then we were able to stay in contact. We met like the girls I didn't know. We were at the same tournament, so I figured out how to connect with them, watched the game or whatever. I said hi to them after. The next camp after that was, I think, when we all officially met together, and then we had our official visit.
Cool. Cool. Cool.
Yeah,
What
it's been so easy to get close with
yeah,
them.
what would you say you're working on in your goalie game right now, Harley?
Right now, I'm kind of just working on fine-tuning everything,
Mm-hmm.
like making sure I'm pretty solid in all my spots evenly across the board. But there's definitely stuff I can get better at, and there's definitely things I can do more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, I said I was a proactive goalie. Coach White wants me to rein it in a little bit more than I
Mm.
have been lately, and it all kind of depends on like what team I'm playing with and all that, because you don't know your defense all the time if you're playing with like some random team. So you got to
Mm.
feel it out how active you can be outside of the crease.
Right.
But I'm kind of working on reining that in, and when I come out of goal, being more efficient with it.
Got it. All right.
Mhm.
Very cool. What would you say then, just kind of sum up the recruiting journey if you're going to give some tips to a young goalie, who's a freshman or sophomore going
Yeah.
through it right now, what sort of general advice would you give to them?
When you walk into camp, you want to walk in with a smile on your face,
Mm.
because coaches don't only look at how you play, they look at how you carry yourself. They
Yeah.
look like if you're carrying your lacrosse bag versus like your parent who's with you carrying your lacrosse bag. They want to make sure you're responsible and make sure you're responsible for your stuff, as well as like being friendly and talking to people that are outside of your comfort zone, talking to people you don't necessarily know and making friends. After that, you typically start your dynamic warm up. So it's like actually stretching, not just like going through the motions, but like actually like touching the grass when you're doing scoops, or fully triple extending when you're doing a quad pull or something like that.
Hmm.
You want to not just go through the motions, look like you're actually trying to prepare, because you want to be prepared when you hop in the goal.
Right.
Um, just being nice and like talking to all the coaches is great, getting your name out there, being friendly to everyone, cheering others on even in your goalie group, because a lot of times goalies are separate during camps, but cheering the people that you're with on, while they might be competition for like the coaches' views, ultimately you guys are all trying to get better, so it's better to get better in a good environment than just being worried about yourself. You want to cheer on and uplift the people around you. It's
Great
like,
tips. Great
yeah.
tips right there. Parents carrying the kids' goalie gear. That's a red flag. That's red flag
Mhm.
material, right? I think I've heard coaches say like that's instant mark off or instant X if they do that. So carry your own gear. If you take one thing away from this podcast, that's it. Carry your own gear,
Carry your
right?
own gear, especially around tournaments, because coaches are still watching.
Yeah, but I like your point, your comment about like enter with a smile on your face, because like that's when it starts, right? And
Yeah,
it's not just when you're playing the games, it's everything. It's everything. And as soon as even before you walk in the door, right? Like before you get out of the car, like boom,
yeah,
you're on. And because you never know when they're going to be watching you and what they're going to pick up on.
yeah.
And why
And
not just be happy, right?
yeah, another thing to add to that is like after practice, even like with your high school team, after a lift, after anything where you're with a coach or someone's coaching you, someone's putting in time and effort for you to get better, make sure to go up and say thank you. Give them a
Mm,
fist, because that it doesn't only like stand out to college coaches when you're there at your camp and you go up and you like say like, hey, I really enjoyed this. I learned a lot. I learned X, Y, and Z. I'm really excited to like put that into my actual game. Just saying thank you stands out. It's a nice closure to walking in with a smile and leaving with a smile on your face.
yeah, great point. Great point.
Mhm.
Let's switch a little bit and talk about the mental game.
Okay.
Have you trained that? When I say the word mental toughness, what sort of comes to mind, or how would you teach a goalie to be mentally tough?
Basically, I have struggled with this a lot. It's something that I have definitely had to like rein myself in with. I said earlier that I get really wrapped up on the little mistakes that I make. So something I try to tell the goalies that I coach at least is to just stay positive. Know that wherever you are, you worked hard to be in that spot. You're good enough to play where you are playing right now. Because if you weren't, you wouldn't be there at the time.
Hmm.
Um, you've put in the work to get where you are. So work on exceeding in the spot you're at and don't be too worried about like the steps ahead of you being like, oh, well, if I can't make this save, I'm never going to go D1. No, just focus on the game that you're in right then, because that's ultimately what matters at the time.
Yeah.
It's just trying to train like what you're actually focusing on and shifting your attitude when you walk in the goal.
Yeah. 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 I mean, where we put our focus, where that's totally under our control, right?
Hmm.
A lot of times, one of the mental game lessons you hear so much is like, focus on the controllables or control what you can control. And
Hmm.
you can't really control giving up goals because it's going to happen, right? They're going to shoot on you from point blank range and you're going to give up goals. So that's not really in your control, but your reaction and what I focus on and how I sort of think about that play and how I move on to the next, I could control that. That's in my
Yeah.
control, right?
Yeah. It's a lot
Um,
easier to make a shot than it is to save a goal.
it's a lot easier to make a, yeah,
For
yeah.
a goal than it is to save a shot.
Well,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, especially in the women's game because
yeah.
you get shot on one on nothing, and with the shooting space rule, like they can't, get in the way and knock the girl on her butt like you can in the man the guys game. So, what about when you give up a goal now? Do you have some sort of routine that you go through?
I would love, love, love to say that I don't dip my head at all. I wish that I could say that like I never get down about a say oh a shot that goes in.
Yeah,
Because I do, like it happens. It happens to everyone. It definitely happens to me. A lot of the time it's just like taking a deep breath and just resetting myself. The goal already went in, or the ball already went in the goal. There's no point to like backhandedly like roll the ball on the ground to the ref or anything like that.
right,
Pick the ball up, hand it to the ref, say thank you, walk back in the cage and take a deep breath. Because the goal already happened. There's no point of being mad at it.
right.
Just to try to focus on what's going to happen next and take a deep breath because you will save the next shot if you're focused.
There you go.
And something that like this is like I if I'm struggling seeing the ball in that moment, because a lot of the times it's like, oh, I just did not see that shot at all. I focus on trying to see the seam on the lacrosse ball, although it's
Mm,
like virtually impossible to see the seam on a ball that is flying at you.
yeah,
But actually trying to see the ball for what it is, opposed to like just seeing the yellow blob that's flying at you,
yeah.
focus a little bit more.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah, there's some drills that I've done before, with different colored balls and like, you'll surprise them by throwing one of the balls and then you have to
Mhm.
immediately
Say what color.
call out the color. Yeah, and that just kind of like gets you to focus on that ball. And then I have this ball that have like numbers on them, right? And so if you kind of throw it, then they can call out that number.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's just yeah, focusing on the ball. The other thing I've heard from someone is that like if you hold up a ball, it kind of has like a little like shadow on the
Yeah.
bottom, right? And so just kind of like picking up that shadow and like focusing on it. I thought that was a cool little
That is
vision.
cool. Yeah.
Focus
Thought
on
of
the ball. What
before.
about if someone tells you like, "Hey, Carly, I have trouble tracking the ball." What would you say to them?
I would start with like if they're like what we were just talking about, if they're actually seeing the ball versus seeing this like yellow blob that's flying at them. Or try asking them, well, what are you actually looking at the shooter? Are you looking at the shooter's face? Are you
Mm,
looking at the shooter's stick? Or are you looking
yeah.
at the ball in that shooter's stick?
Right.
Um, because there's a difference. The head of the stick doesn't go into the goal, the ball does.
Right.
The shooter isn't going to point out where they're going to shoot. They might like have some signs, some tells of like where they're going to shoot, but ultimately it's the ball that's flying at you. So
Right.
that's what you need to be focusing on from the pass to the cradle to the shot.
100%. Yeah. At the beginning, I used to get confused by that question because I'm like, just watch the ball. Like, what do you mean? Like, how do you like? What do you mean you can't track the ball? Like, just watch it. And then I kind of get it now. Whereas they could be looking at something else, like you said,
Yeah.
like looking at the shoulders, which I think that you want to sort of look at the ball in their stick and be ready for that sort of release point, and that's kind of where your main focus is. But you can still like, the way vision works, I can still look at one thing and see the shoulders, like not in my focus, right? But see that they're pointed that way if I need to read the shooter's body language. This is awesome. What about being a leader of the team, right? I imagine, you're a leader of the team right now. Maybe you're not. I don't know. But the best teams, in my opinion, have goalies who are leaders. And, how do you, as a freshman, what's your plan to be a leader?
Well, actually, to take a step back and start at high school, my high school team was super close. And while I wasn't a captain, I was a leader of the team. And a way I did that was like being there to plan stuff and attending all the activities outside of practice. And then like dancing around when there's music going on. You're
Mm,
singing, you're having fun with the team. And ultimately, if people on your team see you have fun and like see that you're interacting with other people, they're more likely to want to interact with you. If you show that you're a fun and like trustworthy person, they're gonna come to you asking for advice. So it's kind of how I took on my leadership role in high school. While I'm going into college, I still like I want to be a leader on the team, but I know that that's not like leaders are pretty established walking onto a team, especially a college team, walking on as a freshman. I think right now my goal is to walk in and like try to figure everything out. It's a completely
mm,
new team.
right.
I want to figure everything out, obviously be kind to all my teammates, maybe lead a little bit in my class, but I think it starts with attending everything outside of practice
Hmm.
and being a good sport in practice, of course.
Right.
But not like being goofy, having fun with it, dancing around.
Yeah. Don't stop dancing. Don't stop
Yeah,
dancing, Carly. Take those moves right to San Diego. But
right.
anyway, yeah, having fun is huge, right? I mean, in all seriousness, like, and that's what dancing shows, that you're having fun, that you enjoy the sport of lacrosse and getting to know your teammates and all that. Then, when it is your turn to be that quote unquote official leader, you're ready and people trust you. So,
Yeah, it's all about building connections.
yeah. Well, this has been great. Do you think we hit on everything, or there's some
I
great
think so. Unless you
great stories that you're holding back from us here that we need to hear about?
well, let me think. I don't think so. Just have fun.
Best save you ever made? Does one come to mind?
No, I wish. Honestly, they all kind of like I'll be having conversations with my dad after the game. And honestly, after a game, the game itself is the last thing I want to talk about. As
Yeah,
like
yeah,
as players, you just lived it. Why do you want to talk about it again? But if I'm talking sometime after the game, and my dad's like, "Oh, you remember this shot? Like it was in like the second half, like 4 minutes left on the clock." And I was like, I have no idea what shot you're talking about.
yeah. Oh,
Like I
interesting.
just
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
So
Um,
just
I
like
was I was like, if I had a great game, then I really wanted to talk about it. If I had a bad game, then I didn't want to talk about it. That was
even
kind
like
of
mediocre game, I'm like, I just went through this. I don't want to talk about it.
yeah, yeah. So that's an important point for the goalie moms and dads out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes like the last thing we want to talk about is the game. And so yeah, don't force it on us, right?
So translating to that, I can't remember what the best save I've ever made is.
All right, all good. All good. The best save is yet to come.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Um, cool. What about your gear? Do you use the Eclipse, or what kind of Eclipse 3 or Eclipse 2, or what kind
I
of gear, what kind of
believe
goalie head do you got?
I use a string king head. I believe
String
it's
King.
R2G.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They only have one, the Mark 2G. Do you like that head?
I do like it a lot. I do
Yeah.
have a problem where I continue to bend it. So I've gone through a few of the heads,
Okay.
a little warped.
Yeah.
But other than that, like I love it. I'll just continue to buy new heads.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Cool. Well, wish you tons of success and luck and at San Diego State. We'll be watching. And do you know the city yet enough to give me a fish tacos recommendation, or not
I
yet?
do not. I
Okay.
do know there's this good Mexican restaurant. I don't know the name of it. I mean, all the Mexican restaurants down there are great,
Right.
but it's in downtown San Diego, and they have like this huge mango tree, in like their pavilion, I guess, but couldn't tell you the name
And
of
they
it.
just slice off
Something called-
the mangoes and serve them into the Mexican food.
there's definitely some mango desserts, I'm sure.
Oh man, that
It's
sounds
great.
amazing.
That's the place.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll check back up in 6 months or so and
Okay, I'll let you know.
get a recommendation. Karli, if you had to leave the goalies out there with a final piece of advice, what would that be?
Your smile and your attitude and your body language say so much more than words do. And it's a big difference between saying you're going to do something and actually doing something. Action speaks louder than words.
Thank you so
So,
much.
your game that, yeah, actions speak louder than words.
Love it. Karli, thank you so much.
Of course, thank you.